Hi family, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're well. I hope you've been doing great. So, today I had like a work training session. So I had to look decent, hence I put on the wig and put on like a duck. Yeah, so at least I look presentable, although it's neither here nor there. And my husband is sitting here, somewhere here. He is watching the news, like he always does. So, anyway, the reason why I decided to film a video was because I was on Facebook. I'm part of this Facebook page. I think I'll talk about it a lot, but not necessarily who said what and everything. It's just that the things that they talk about, they're very interesting. So it's for married women or women that are in relationships or women in general. I don't know, but it's called Modern Makoti. So basically, someone shared a post, and the post was basically talking about the different types of marriage contracts and everything else. So I decided that since I'm married and obviously I know a thing or two about these things, I should hop onto this platform and talk about my experience, what I know, what I've learned, and what I would basically try do differently, or rather advise someone to do it differently, because obviously it's over for me. Yeah. So this person firstly started out with saying, when you get married out of community of property, ne, you're not planning your separation, or rather you're not planning your divorce. So I felt like that was very important, because there's this negative connotation regarding getting married out of community of property. I know that people believe certain things and all of that, but it's very important that we educate ourselves. Not n- basically, okay, I think I also need to put this disclaimer out there. I'm not a lawyer. I do not work for Home Affairs. I am not an advisor. I'm not a qualified advisor, but I can talk about what I've experienced, what I've done, and what I know on the topic. So that's very important. So yeah, with that being said, the post continued to talk about the three different types of marriage contracts, and basically I'm pretty sure I didn't read everything. I'm pretty sure it also entails the details on each. So I will also start with that. um there are three that I know of. Maybe there's more. There are three that I know of. It's either you get married in community of property, or you get married out of community of property with accrual, or you get married out of community of property without accrual. So when you get married in community of property, a simplified explanation, we are saying that legally you are recognized as one person basically. So what that also means is that what is yours is mine, and what is mine is yours. So we also carry each other's debts. We also, yeah, basically, I think that's the important part. So if, say, I am married in community of property and my husband owes 1 million rand, technically what that means, it means that he owes 500,000 and I owe 500,000, because we share the debt in a way. But obviously, you, as partners, you talk about it like, okay, I'll get a car and I'll pay it off and whatever. But technically, legally, if something was to happen to you, that car belongs to your partner and whatnot, unless you have a will or a trust and you put those properties in trust. But anyway, that's a story for another day. um but people can contest wills, ne? Like, just saying. So when you get married in community of property with accrual, what that means is that before entering into this marriage contract with you, whatever property I owned or money I made belongs to me. and it also belongs to the other party. But from the moment we enter into this contract, say today is the 17th of April. So from the 17th of April going forward, whatever we make, ne, even if it's in our individual capacity, whatever property we have and all of that, it belongs to the both of us. So, say my husband had a house before we got married, and I had a car. What that means is that before the 17th of April, that house is his house, and my car is my car. But on the 17th of April, say on the 18th, we purchase like property, then that means that that property is our property. We have equal shares and say on the property, basically. And then when you get married outside of community of property without an accrual, what that means is that regardless of whether I owned it before the marriage or during the marriage, what's mine is mine, what's yours, it's yours. So, yeah, it's just a simplified explanation. Please do not come for me. That's how I understand it, ne? And that's how I was taught, and based on the research that I've done. So, when you get married, you need to, I think it's very important that you sit down with your partner and you talk about these things. You talk about what type of marriage contract you want, what's suitable for you based on your circumstances and all of that. Because, guys, marriage is a contract. You need to remember that. It is like a business transaction in a sense, because you will acquire properties, you will get into debt, you will maybe go on business ventures and all of that, and it might affect the other individual. So let's not just think about marriage in the, oh my gosh, I love my person, oh my gosh, they complete me. There's just a lot also that accompanies that. It's not just the feelings and the emotions. So it's very important to also have a mature discussion about it. Don't be too emotional and all of that. So what happened, let me talk about my experience, right? And I'll talk about things that I know about our people. You know, we're going to gossip. I'm kidding. So I am married outside. Do you want me to talk about it? I am married out of community of property without accrual. Let that sink in. I know this is a bit personal, but I'll explain from both our perspectives and the reason why we concluded on doing that, and the process we went through, and what I would advise people who are planning on doing that to maybe consider before entering into such a contract. Okay, so we are married out of community of property without accrual. I already said that, and the reason why we did that was because, like I said, I'm studying towards becoming a CASA, and my husband, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, my husband is an industrial engineer and he is a businessman. So obviously, business is risky, and yeah. So what happens is that I'll start with my side. What happens is that when you get married, say in community or property, you're seen as one person. If it so happens that my husband is not independent from his company, right? And it happens that he gets sequestrated or something happens, he enters into business rescue or whatever the case may be, it also affects me as an accountant. And based on the Auditing Professional Act or profession, whatever, APA, if I am under review or those type of things, my license as a CA might be suspended. Please don't quote me but basically in essence, but I might be missing certain things, but yeah, basically that's what might happen. And another thing on my business, I mean, on my husband's uh, perspective as well, as a business person, you need to make sure that you're independent from a lot of people, because I might make silly mistakes in terms of finances or whatever, and then now it reflects on his record as well, So automatically, if we are married in community of property, since we are seen as one, I believe that if I was to enter into contracts with other people, they have to also look into my husband, and vice versa. So that was the reasoning behind that. We very much love each other, and we are not planning on getting divorced or separating. Yeah. So that's the reason why we did it. Like, mainly that was the reason. And if it was to happen that maybe it can be either one of us. Maybe I also start a business and then it goes under. If they were to take assets, they should take assets belonging to me, although we might have purchased those assets in agreement, so that it doesn't affect the entire family. Like, imagine having kids and all of a sudden, like, now the house is being taken away because mama's business or daddy's business, something happened. That was our thought process. And the advice I have on that is that you get married out of communal property without accrual. It's very important that you have something in writing, like a will, or maybe eventually, when you start a trust where these assets can also form part of the trust, so they protected for your kids as well, because we know we Africans, like, if something was to happen, we don't know how our families will react and what they will do if they knew the type of arrangement we are in. I don't know if it makes sense. So it actually protects both of you in a way. Although I don't know legally what happens if the one person was to be sequestrated and then there's a will, and I said she can have the house although it's in my name, or I don't know. I don't know about that. I haven't thought that far ahead. But I'm just saying that do have something in writing to cover you as well. And I think it also gives that sense of security that, okay, Vele, this person is not with me because of the things that I have, or they're planning a divorce, like how people view it. It's still Nhlalala and Diani are married, they love each other, and they believe in their relationship, and they have it in writing somewhere. Should something happen to them, like death, even though that house is in Diani's name, Nhlalala has a right to it. So yeah, that's the advice I'd give, or rather what we did. So the process. Let me talk about the process. So with the process, what happened was, before you get married, you need to contact a lawyer. I don't know if it's all types of lawyers that can do this, but I personally got a lawyer that deals with these things. So we registered, like, our names. You give your names, your ID numbers, and details, and then they then draft something. They'll send it back to you. Then you have to sign it, basically saying you agree to getting married out of communal property without accrual. And then after that, they will register the marriage contract with the deeds office. So after they register the contract with the deeds office, you get like a certificate, which you can take with you to Home Affairs when you sign. Or if you get married before it is approved at the deeds office or it is registered, they do give you a copy of something that you can take with you to Home Affairs whenever you want to legalize your marriage. So if you are planning on getting married out of community of property, whether it's with accrual or without accrual, you do have to do the contract thing. The process is the same. It's just that it's different with the only difference is the fact that it's with accrual and the other one is without. So you still have to go through that before you can go sign at Home Affairs. So you'll take that contract with you to Home Affairs, and then you will sign and then you'll do whatever ceremony you have at home affairs, and that's that. Then you will be legally be married to your partner in a civil union. Is just that it is out of community of property without accrual. Okay, so now let me talk about what I would have done differently. Number one, I sat down with my mom and I told her about it, right? Like, this is what's gonna happen. But um, my husband did not do the same with his mom. Okay, I didn't tell my dad because I don't know, it would have been an awkward conversation. But my husband, on the other hand, he didn't tell his mom. And when it came to witnessing, like the witnesses for our marriage, like legal part of it, um, both our moms were witnesses. So when we got there, obviously they're gonna talk about the antenuptial contract, or that's what it's called, by the way, the antenuptial contract and everything. And my mother-in-law was clueless. And I remember when we went back home, she asked about it. I felt awkward and I felt bad because I know the connotations that people have regarding out of community of property. Like, I don't know if her thought process was like, yo, this girl thinks, um, I don't know what she thought. Like, but do you understand? Like, you're leaving a gap where anyone can conclude based on their own thinking. But it was neither here or there. Uh, so that's when my husband basically explained why we did that. But personally, I would have wanted it done before. So yeah, that's my experience, and that's what I've done. I don't know about other people, but I do know that people like saying, "Oh yeah, you know, when you get married out of community of property, you're planning a divorce, and why would you do that? What if he leaves you and all of that?" I don't think. Okay, my husband's playing something. Sorry about that, but I don't think in any case, whether you're married in community of property or out of community of property, you should be, I don't know, I don't want it to sound offish or anything like that, but you should be entirely dependent on someone and rely on their wealth. You know, the one thing I'd say, if, for example, when I met my husband, he was already working, he had already established himself and all of that, and I'm trying to do that for myself. The only thing I'd say is that ask your partner to help you establish yourself, establish your independence, you know, so that you can also help him out. Because with the life that we have, you never know. Your husband might be well established today, and tomorrow something else might happen. How do you then help the family? How do you bridge the gap? Because when you were depending on this person, what if, I don't know, personally, I believe that you should also be financially independent, and then you come in as a union, you help each other. And I'm not saying 50-50 because obviously, okay, it's not obvious, but my husband earns more than me, so I can't really even say financially 50-50, if it makes sense. So you can't, like, I don't know if how 50-50 works, but technically for me, I help out where I can. If say you have a house, or you bought a townhouse, an apartment, or whatever the case may be, you can help with rates and taxes, and he's paying for the mortgage if he is. Those type of things, like, okay, if you have cars as a couple, he pays for the installment, you pay for insurance, like those type of things, you help out where you can. And if one day it so happens that you earn more than your man or whatever, you share responsibility equally according to how, not equally as in the same money, but as to the weighing, like who earns more, who can contribute more, type of thing. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say regarding that. So with out of community of property, if you are in a customary marriage, that is automatic. You are married in community of property. When you're cohabitating, I think as well, there's a period, if you were cohabitating for a certain period, you are automatically married in community of property. I personally have seen things, let me just say things, where you have aunts and uncles that are married in community of property. In one instance, my uncle passed on, and my aunt had to now take on the burden of my late uncle's debts. Where sometimes you don't even know these things, where my uncle owed SARS, and it was just an entire situation. And a different situation is when, like, I have an aunt who found out later in her marriage that hubby had issues, like, financially, and problems. Obviously, with all these things, they're not my story to tell, so I can't go into details. So now, when they were trying to get their money back, right, they now were repossessing property that he didn't even buy, the wife was paying for, and all of that. I think, to be honest, income is of property, yes, but sometimes, I don't know, it's just a lot, like, a lot going on there. And yeah, man, but the most important thing is that when you are planning a family, it's great to create wealth for your kids and yourselves, so that you are eventually comfortable with everything. So yeah, just think about it before rushing into things, and do your own research. Don't just believe what people say. Do your own research, because no one's perfect and people change. That's the one thing. So whether you get married in community of property or out of community of property, things change, circumstances change, people change. So it's very important that you do your own research, and in the event something happens that negatively affects, it's a negative ripple effect of your decision, you can own up to it, you can take responsibility for it. So if something was to happen, I won't go to my mom and say, you're the one who said, because I made the decision. So yeah, it's very important that we do that. Make especially us, like the youth. I like to think of myself as the youth. It's very important, because most people are business minded these days. People are innovative and all of that. So also protect that product. I personally would say maybe you should consider out of community or property. It's just me, or rather have some sort of contract that would then separate you from, like, the marriage, like the product from the marriage, basically. But I don't know, hey, it would be nice to hear what other people's experiences are and the advice they would like to give married people out there. Please advise us, please teach us. And yeah, man, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope the video was informative. And yeah, I just revealed a piece of my marriage, which I don't necessarily believe it's a secret, but obviously you need to make sure that your partner is comfortable with you talking about those things, because they might view it as private. So yeah, anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe. Whoa, I'm with them. Yeah, anyway, guys, may love, peace, and grace be unto you. Bye. Mwah. Hey, hey. Ooh, 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 ooh.